Welcome, one and all. We are live. This is the Real Review 3000, and I am Chris Knight. Thank you for showing up today. And I have two great guests for our non-spoiler / spoiler review of Spider-Man Far From Home. So, without further ado or interruption, we're going to go ahead and introduce those people right now. We'll start off with Hoff Solo. Hoff, tell everybody who you are, where they can find you, and what you're currently working on.
Hey, Hoff here. You can find my channel on YouTube. Obviously, just search Hoff Solo in the search bar. It should be the first channel that comes up. I checked recently; no one else has that name, which is cool, or anything similar. So I'm very easy to find. I just recently actually did a Spider-Man Far From Home review that contains spoilers. It's very long. I rant a lot. You can check that out if you'd like, and not to take away from anything you guys are doing tonight, but I got a stream after this show with It's a Vase Productions where we just talk about stuff in the news during the week and try to make it funny. So thanks for having me on, Chris. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. It's great. And thank you because you kind of filled a void there. We appreciate you coming on such short notice. And thank you to our next guest, Mary, for getting in touch with Hoff and making this happen. So next up with her root beer float is Merry Mayhem. Mary, please tell everybody where they can find you, what you're working on, and how much of that root beer float you have left.
About half.
Okay, then just checking. We'll mute you. Actually, I can't do that.
Sorry,
you'll hurt me. No, you'll hurt me. I know you.
Need a bigger straw. Get a spoon.
Yeah, get a spoon.
Know, because then it'll be sloppy and it'll go everywhere. No, I'm sorry.
Actually, wait. No spoon, no straw. Use your tongue.
No, and stop sexualizing me.
It's a natural thing. It's ice cream.
I am Mary B. I am the Mistress of Mayhem, disruptor of the narrative, and official wham and card holder. You can find me over on my channel, Merry Mayhem, which is super easy to find as long as you know how to spell Mary. It's like Christmas. So, I post the link up here in the chat. Thanks for coming, everybody. Yeah, we saw Spider-Man.
Yes, we did. Just so you know, if you want to know about the channels and their Twitter handles and all that, that is down below in the description because I actually do try to tell people where they find you, and that's what I try to do. I'm trying to be nice, you know.
Look at Chris looking for accolades for doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, your point.
Congratulations, you put a link in the description.
And I made the thumbnail. Listen, I made a thumbnail with you guys on it. I'm like, anyways.
He's on the ball.
I am. That's right. See, this guy, that guy knows what he's talking about right there.
Only because I just do the same thing, so I got to feel like I'm doing it.
Absolutely. You absolutely do. You're right on there. Okay, so let's get into this really quick because Hoff, you got to go to your stream tonight pretty quick. Let's start off with no spoilers. So, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, there will be spoilers later on, but right now, no spoilers. Let's start out with a really quick overall impression. And who wants to go first?
Let Hoff go first since he's going to leave first.
There you go. Hoff, take it away. Overall impressions of the movie.
Overall impressions, I thought it was quite a spectacle. There's a lot going on. It had a kind of a slow start, but once it picked up, it was great. The analogy I like to use was like it picks up like if you kick a 6-year-old down a small hill or embankment, they start rolling and they embellish it a lot, and you just keep going. So that's kind of how this movie went, because just standing still at first. But I really enjoyed the movie. I thought they did a great job. I don't think it was perfect, but I think it was on par, and I really enjoyed it. It was a good addition to the franchise, and I enjoyed Tom Holland and all the actors in this movie. I didn't really, to be honest with you, I didn't find anything really negative about the movie. The humor, maybe a couple times, but other than that, there maybe not have been the greatest highs of highs, like maybe like Endgame or Infinity War, and maybe that's why this one feels a little bit smaller now, like, because without Infinity War or Endgame, if you put this movie out 6-7 years ago, this would have been the biggest movie of all time. Maybe not like Avatar, but you know what I mean, like for a Marvel or superhero movie, this would have been huge, especially with like Jake Gyllenhaal in it. If he was in the movies years ago before all these other big stars, like that would have been a huge deal, and it still is. So that says something. But yeah, I'll try to keep it shorter, I guess. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing it again sometime. Not sure about theaters, but I'll definitely get it when it comes out on the Blu-rays.
Yeah. Okay, Mary, overall impressions?
Oh man, I agree with Hoff in that like I feel like this was a really good movie. I don't have any real nitpicks or anything to say was particularly negative about it. I didn't feel like it started slow. I was completely engaged from get-go, right? Like they started sucking me in the beginning with sort of their explanations of things and how they had gone down. And I was engaged because I felt like it was important to get this information. So I felt like I don't feel like it was slow at all. But I mean, I respect and value your opinion, Hoff, and you're certainly entitled to it. But I had a good time.
I'm not the only. I'll just interrupt for a second. I'm not the only one who said that, but
I'm aware.
okay.
I saw Josiah's review as well.
I haven't seen that. I watched Amazing Lucas. Sorry.
Oh,
But no, I had a
get
good
your
time.
sources right, Mary.
Do what?
So get your sources right.
And actually, I'll say this: I didn't agree with a lot of things Amazing Lucas said about that, but it's neither here nor there. But that's the review I watched. Earlier. Go ahead, Mary. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. No, I enjoyed it from start to finish. Really, it was now was it a ride the entire time? No, it wasn't a ride the entire time, but it was engaging for the entire time, and I just enjoyed it from beginning to end. And I had a lot of fun with the sort of relationship building that went on in the movie, as well as the villain was a standout villain. Potentially, I would say maybe even my favorite MCU villain so far, and that's keeping in mind the sort of retcon that they did of Thanos in Endgame. So I would say this is definitely one of, if not my favorite villain in the MCU so far, and I am quite impressed by it.
Now, I would agree with both of you. I'm with Mary on the speed of the film. I think it jumped in really quick, and I think that's because they were trying to lure you into a false sense of that Mysterio wasn't a bad guy. Yet those of us who know
spoilers.
Sorry.
No, I just mean the whole setup, like the beginning part where they're getting ready and going on the trip and everything. I just felt like that was dragged out a little bit in the whole montage of them being on vacation.
Don't pile on, Hoff. You are wrong. We are right. No.
No.
I just didn't find them running around on vacation to be that entertaining for like the first 15 or 20 minutes.
No, but I mean, but they go really fairly quick on that. And, you know, there's witty stuff in between all that. The plane ride was kind of funny how they did that, but it does take off fairly quick for most movies. I will say that I think as far as the new Spider-Man and even the second gen version of it, I think this is the best Spider-Man movie we've gotten. It definitely makes Peter Parker, the way they portray him is much better than in some of the other movies. Mary, you almost lost your straw there.
Out there, Chris.
But I liked Jake Gyllenhaal. I liked the whole way that they did it. I like the tie-ins. There's a lot of tie-ins that go back and forth between different MCU movies, and it's very important because it really helps this movie and explain what's going on in the world of Peter Parker, I think. So I was really happy with it. I thought it's a lot stronger than I thought it would have been, because Spider-Man has not been the strong performer or the stronger movie of the MCU movies. It's been one of the mid-tier to lower tier, quite possibly. So it was a lot stronger than what I thought it would be. So let's do a quick rating of the movie. Let's do like we do on here normally, a 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5, whatever. What out of 5 do you give this movie, Hoff?
4 out of 5. Yeah.
4 out of 5.
Easily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mary?
Are we working on a 5 scale?
Yes. I like working on a 5 scale because
I
it's
always
different.
work on a 10 scale.
Exactly.
Well, mine's the same. I just halved it. So
See,
Yeah, I would give it a 4 if
I
was
like working
5
with,
scale.
okay, I see. And I like working with a 5 scale because it definitely I don't know. It shows you a little better than a
Oh,
10
does it?
scale.
Does it?
It does.
Like
No, technically, it's less accurate.
No,
Yeah,
it's more accurate actually because it makes you have to put the points in there. So like
no,
me,
negative.
I'd
It's
make it a
actually-
4.5,
actually
which
less
would be a 9
accurate.
on your scale.
You have less wiggle room.
Yeah, but I can do a 9.5. You can't.
You're far more precise on a scale where you can hone it down to a more specific number.
I do a 4.823 in order to beat your 9.5.
We're sitting here arguing over the
Three,
scale.
three.
If you put it on a 5 scale, I would say a 4.
Okay.
On a 10 scale, I would say an 8.
We don't take those into account here.
You just have it, Mary.
That's what she did. So you guys think, okay, so we're going to say 4 out of 5 from both of you, or let's be nice to you guys in your channels, 8 out of 10.
Yes.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks for being respectful.
I'm all respect.
Mad respect.
Anyways, okay.
Will this review stay on topic?
I will say it's a strong 4 out of 5. I might go like a 4.25.
If you have to do
There
a
we go.
point something, then why are you using a 5 scale?
Because I would still do a point something in a 10 scale. I don't necessarily think that it always falls right in the lines of the numbers. I mean, I'm almost at a 9 if you go from a 10 scale. If I was on your stream, Mary, we would be doing 10 scale.
What's confusing about your scale is there's a 1 to 10. That's like the numbers we have, 0 to 9, but technically we go 1 to 10. So, like the way you're doing it, if you said you gave it a 4 point something and you didn't clarify it was out of 5, people are going to assume you didn't like the movie.
But I clarified that it was a 5 scale.
You have to. You must.
I did.
Because there's no way to tell otherwise. If you give it a 6 or a 7, you know it's out of 10. But if
I know.
you give it you must clarify.
But on a 5 scale, I give it about 4.25, and on a 10 scale, about 8.5. So there we go.
All right, so you really like it.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I think it's the best Spider-Man movie we've gotten since probably Sam Raimi's first one.
I would say it's probably the best Spider-Man movie we've ever gotten.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's not true. I would have to go back and watch the original Sam Raimi one to really look at it. I know that enjoyment factor wise, I think this is better. I'm not sure about story wise.
Your brother from another mother in the chat is saying you're wrong.
Of course he is. He always does that, but that's okay. My Norwegian brother Stig is he's allowed his opinion, which is not bad most of the time. This time he's completely wrong, but that's okay. All right. So
that's the point.
Without anything to spoil it. Yeah, it's my fault. But give me some of your favorite moments that don't give anything away. Like interactions between characters.
Broad brush strokes here. Okay.
What was that?
If it's in the trailer, does it count? Can we use stuff from that
Sure.
are alluded to in the trailers? Okay.
Sure. So who wants to go first? Hoff?
Oh, geez. I really liked certain relationship dynamics that happened in this movie, and I felt like there was a lot of those. The movie kind of was based around these relationship dynamics between many different pairs or more than that, people throughout the movie. And I also like the fact that you get to spend a lot of time with a lot of the characters in this movie rather than having too many characters. You only get to see them for a couple minutes like we've been used to the last couple of years with Infinity War and Endgame. I really like the humor. There are some moments that were really good. I felt that the callback jokes got a little too much at times. The ones that they did like 3 or 4, maybe 5 times throughout the movie was kind of got old, but a lot of the jokes were pretty solid. There's one moment in the movie that blew my mind, and it's a big climactic scene. I won't elaborate any further than that, but if you guys know what I'm talking about, it's the one where it gets crazy and weird. That was probably my favorite part.
Absolutely. I think I know what you're talking about. And we will try to, after Mary talks and after I talk, we'll try to get to some spoilers and shoo everybody out that doesn't want to hear it. So, Mary, go ahead. What's your favorite parts or
my favorite part that isn't spoilery, or talk about my favorite part and not be spoilery?
Yes, you can do both.
I can do both. Well, then I will keep it quick and concise if I can. I would agree with Hoff that in terms of my favorite part that is not spoilery, that he hit the nail on the head. The relationships in this movie are very well done, and it's sort of, there's a lot of chemistry going on between people in this film. It's a lot of chemistry, and it works really well. And characters that I initially had issues with, those issues are laid to rest within this film, and I feel like they're done. They're just handled exceptionally, and I'm very impressed by how they.
I know what you're talking about, and I agree with that.
So yeah, and I think provided people are willing to set some minor sort of almost aesthetic things aside, you will find yourself quite entranced and enthralled with certain characters who do a good job of capturing your heart and being adorable. And then I would say by far my favorite aspect of this film, without getting spoilery, is the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Just done masterfully.
I couldn't agree more with the characters. It's something that gets misplaced in a lot of movies these days, and this movie takes what we know about the characters and expands it so much further, and it does a very good job. And I think in the original Spider-Man Homecoming, that they reintroduced characters, or introduced characters we hadn't seen in other Spider-Man movies, gave us a good firm grasp of who they were. But in this one, we get to kind of play mix and match, like you said, interaction with characters now, more so in this, because it's more of an intimate setting. It's not in a huge school or anything like that. So I think they did a really good job with
we've got a smaller group.
Yeah, and I think that is a testament to writing. It's a testament to how people act. I won't say that's not the actor, but when you get good writing, at least for the age group these people are, the age group it was written well for, because somebody actually understand how teenagers interact. I mean, I guess that's the best way to put it.
I said that same thing in my review about how this would probably be much more enjoyable if this came out whenever I was like a teenager or something, to be able to relate to that sort of thing. Like I did, I like the Tobey Maguire ones a lot whenever I was younger, around that age, because I was in school and going into high school and stuff, and it was a lot more relatable. But still, that being said, it's still enjoyable to watch this from an adult's point of view.
Yeah, but I mean, they did a really good job of interaction. And then I think we're talking about the same thing, Hoff, but there is a very climactic scene in this, and the way it was shot, the in and outs of that scene.
Yeah, definitely
are just amazing, and it helps the finale of this movie so much, because when the finale comes along, it harkens back to that, except now it's a different game.
So you have a question in chat.
No, please, thank you.
So Benola TV wants to know how this compares to the original Spider-Man 2.
Which one? There's been two twos.
The original.
Oh, the original. Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Okay. Much better. I think we said it a little bit before that this is on par with the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I personally don't actually. A lot of people do. I don't hold those movies in a high regard at all. I don't like those movies that much, to be honest with you. They're okay.
I don't think they aged well.
No. And this is coming from a Sam Raimi fan. I love Evil Dead. I love Army of Darkness. I love all that stuff. I love Sam Raimi. But those movies, they're very good moments. But if you just watch them and looking back, like Mary said, they didn't age well. And I don't know, especially if you watch them in like HD on one of those screens that's got like way too high of a frame rate, it looks really bad.
It looks very fake.
It's like watching a play almost.
Yeah, or like a video game. That's basically what I think the graphics are like. But I mean, I don't know. Do you guys agree that this is? I mean, I know Mary and she thinks this is better than the original. I think it's at least as good. It's a better story, I think.
When you say original, are you referring to
Sam Raimi's. Yep.
Oh, Sam Raimi's, okay.
And do you think that you said you like this more than that one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See, so I think it's
a lot more campy and silly in the original Sam Raimi.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They take this quite seriously. Like, and look, of course, there's Marvel humor in it, and there were a couple of jokes that could have landed better, sure. But overall, it's a Marvel movie. It's quite funny while still taking it seriously, right? Like, I think I only had to suspend my disbelief. Like, I think once, really, and I think you guys know what I'm talking about. The part with the bus. Where that bus is moving and you're not. Like, that was the only part that I really had to suspend my disbelief. Well, I think there was 2 parts where I had to suspend my disbelief, but I'll save that for the spoiler section. But yeah, like, for the most part, I really didn't have to suspend my disbelief too much with this film. It felt very real world for me. Whereas in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man stuff, it was just so ridiculous and campy and silly. And it took comic books used to be taken less seriously back in the day, right? So they felt like they could get away with a lot more stuff. Now we have these sort of gritty, realistic, real world takes on comic books that do that kind of bring it to a real world feel for us. And I appreciate that because it doesn't suck me out of the movie as much.
Yeah. I think, well, Spider-Man's always been more lighthearted. And it's always because it's been that neighborhood thing. And it's always been.
We're not talking about lighthearted. We're talking about campy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in general, there's been campiness. I mean, like the cartoons were campy as hell. So it was kind of like a mix of live action with that campiness in it. The original ones, I think.
I mean, and we're talking about a teenager most of the time, so it should be a little bit lighthearted, you know.
But this one definitely just. I guess it's the ebb and flow. There is very dramatic parts. There's very serious parts. But then at the same time, there's the lighthearted parts, and they did a much better job of that in this movie.
Penis Parker.
I'm not saying it's better, but I still think Homecoming is my favorite. I still think I liked it better. I'm not saying it is better. I'm saying I still think I just liked it. I really like that movie. It's probably my favorite Spider-Man movie. And
I like this one a little bit better.
I don't care what anyone says. I like the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I don't care what you say. Don't care. I liked them.
I liked them.
I thought they were, especially the first one. I really liked the first one. Second one, not so much. But I liked Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. Really liked him in that portrayal. It might not have been spot on, but I liked it.
I think it's always interpretations.
I thought he was a better Spider-Man than he was a Peter Parker.
Both. I think he did great in both roles. But I liked him kind of being more of a charismatic, kind of arrogant Peter Parker rather than like a whiny little B word that Tobey Maguire could be sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, so now that Shellback's here, he's gonna hate us because we're gonna go ahead and talk about spoilers. So, hey, Shellback, if you don't want to hear them, I'm gonna give you a minute to head out. I thank you for watching, but we got to kind of rush this.
Well, feel free to go ahead and just mute and leave it running. Hey, man, we like.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I
you guys
appreciate
have to rush from me. I mean, I can head out and you guys can keep on talking. You know, once I'm out. But
well, I want to get your opinion on some of this stuff, and so did they rip off the episode? No, they did not rip off the side. These are both fan-made artwork for this film. This scene over here behind me on the right was nowhere near happening in this film.
No.
Nowhere.
If anything, it was quite the opposite.
Okay. So Shellback and everybody else has been warned. We're going to do some spoilers. So best part of the movie. Hoff, go.
It was the scene that we were just discussing where it's the first time Spider-Man gets tricked by Mysterio, I believe, with the projectors. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
And it's this crazy world he goes into. He's basically just in a building, but all he can see is this crazy scenario that Mysterio has built around him, and it just keeps changing constantly. And as the viewer, you start to wonder what's real and what's not after that for a few more minutes until you can get settled back down. But during that, it's just so discombobulating and crazy, and there's the special effects. The CGI is so good. It's hardly never unbelievable. I'm sure if you slowed it down and watched it, but
it is a simulation that's going on. So even if it was unbelievable, it's only unbelievable because you know it's a simulation.
Well, I meant like Spider-Man, like the actual.
I don't think it is too much. There's a lot of things going on there, and one thing right there, the key is that it's CGI is almost like magic. As long as your eyes are not focused too long, you will not pick out the flaws or the inconsistencies. So they give you enough visual stimulation during that scene to keep it very realistic.
Well, like the ending scenes of Black Panther, I felt were kind of obvious, the CGI with the movements and like the character models. I just didn't feel like there was enough texture and detail, but I didn't really get that from these scenes.
No, and I mean, we were talking about the same scene, and it plays so well to the end of this movie because that scene gives you the idea that Peter is off his game. What was that?
I'm trying to figure out what Hoff was saying his favorite scene was.
The one where Mysterio he has the projector and he's going to who he thinks is Nick Fury, and he gets in the car. Nick Fury drives him to the shield.
A big crazy scene with all the special effects and nonsense, and he's like getting beat up.
About the bar scene initially.
The what?
What?
I thought you were talking about the bar scene initially. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I guess that's technically the first time
that was the first time.
Tricks Peter, but I'm talking about the crazy one.
After Peter knows, it's the first time he tricks him. When Peter actually knows what's going on, in a sense, but he doesn't. But it shows that Peter's off of his game, and it shows that he is outmatched because I mean, come on, he gets hit by a train. I mean, so, and it's done very well because you're in and out of reality. And even when you're in reality, there's non-reality within the reality. And then when you're in the non-reality, there's reality within the non-reality. So they did a very good job of constantly mixing things up, which to the viewer might be confusing, but I don't think it's too confusing. I think it was confusing enough to give you the feel of what Peter's feeling. What the hell's going on? What's real? What's not? Is this real? Is
being
this
disoriented?
Real? Yeah. And as a viewer, I felt like I had enough of that to feel like I was with him, and I actually felt for him because Spider-Man's supposed to have these spider senses.
Peter Tingle.
Yeah. God, that is a horrid. Boy, teenager here's like, stop calling it that. Okay.
See, that was one of those jokes that was funny like the first couple of times, and after like the fifth one, I was just like, all right, I get it. Yeah.
Mary, favorite scene of the movie?
I feel like people are probably gonna come after me about this at some point, but I loved it. It was where Peter was on the plane with Happy, and he starts getting into making the suit. He's playing with the AI, spinning stuff, and Happy looks at him, and you realize that he's thinking of Tony because he's acting like Tony in that moment. He's so capable and smart, and he fits right into it, and it works, and it makes sense. It makes sense. Peter's a smart kid, He's a little stupid on the whole common sense thing sometimes. But that's perfectly within character. And he's in there and he's playing with the toys. And I got choked up a little bit. I'm sitting there watching him, spin it and stick his arm into it and pull it up. And
go ahead. Sorry.
It was emotional for me.
That whole scene was excellent because you just said it. Right before that happens, Peter gets on the plane. He's just been hit by this train. He's barely made it there. He got a hold of Happy. Happy comes and saves him. And he's telling Happy, he's like, I screwed up. I did this. And then Happy has to tell him, you only saw one side of Tony Stark. And he basically tells Peter, Tony was the same way you are. Always worried about his flaws. He messed up. He didn't do the right thing all the time. and he basically says that you're very much like Tony, and that's why Tony cared so much for you.
Well, I disagree with that. I don't feel like he was telling him he was like Tony. I feel like he was expressing that Tony's made mistakes and that's okay. Peter's nothing like Tony.
No, but I think what he's trying to say is there's similarities. I don't think he was trying to say, no, you're exactly like Tony. I'm just saying he points out the similarities of Tony had the same issues. He was always worried about the flaws he had and stuff. But you saw. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just feel like it was more pointing towards the fact that even as the leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even as the sort of head of the Avengers, if you will, the one who's kind of steering the way for the group, Tony made a lot of mistakes. That mistakes happen, they abound, because you're talking about a human person, a person with flaws. And Tony was a great example of that, because even with all of his flaws and even with all of the mistakes that he made, he was still a good leader, and he still had things well in hand on a regular basis, and he meant well. And that it's okay to move forward after you've made a mistake. You grab your bootstraps, you psych yourself up. He's like, so what are you going to do? And Peter's like, I'm going to kick his ass. He's like, well, what are you going to do right now? And it's like, okay, we got to fix this, and it's a good reminder that Peter can still make mistakes. He can still mess up, because it's okay. You're human, you're flawed, and that's all right. So get to it. Let's sew you up. Let's fix you up after being hit by a train and put you back together. And Peter goes back and he digs in.
Yeah.
Can I say something real quick about this? Tony Stark's shadow loomed very largely over this film. No doubt he was a big part of it without even being in it, like so much. Which it's good, because it kind of shows you where we have to pick up where that left off. It is weird to see a Marvel movie without Tony Stark being alive, but you can still see his influence everywhere. What I will say is the one thing that kind of makes me like Homecoming, and this is related to this. What kind of makes me like Homecoming better than this movie is that great hero scene in Homecoming, whenever Spider-Man is taken down by all the rubble that the Vulture puts on him, and he's struggling to get back out of that, and he finally does. He finds the will and the strength to do that. And this movie had that scene basically in a different way, with him, getting hit by the bus and then learning. It is more of a psychological thing than a physical thing in this movie, I guess, to learn that he's never going to be Tony Stark, but he can be Spider-Man and do what he can. But I liked the actual superhero kind of just downfall, but getting back up in Homecoming a little bit better.
I mean,
it hit us.
This movie didn't really have that scene in it, other than that Spider-Man gets crushed,
It hit the same beat, in that there's growth taking place here in this moment. But at this time, instead of it being a sort of physical prowess, right? Like you hit the nail on the head with that. It was sort of a physical prowess previously, where Peter wasn't sure if he could handle that moment where it was required for him to dig down deep and physically attack this thing, because stop seeing himself as a weakling, right? Like you don't need a suit to make you. You have this strength within you on your own. This time it was far more a sort of mental block, right? It was Peter was doing his best to just be his damn self for a little while, and he's a kid, he's a 16-year-old kid, and he's not trying to shirk responsibility so much as just happy in life, right? And he had this thing planned out, and so now everything's kind of gone sideways, and so he's got this sort of mental block here going on, like especially after the ordeal that he had with Mysterio, and he can't trust anything, he can't be anything, he has no command over his senses anymore. He's been robbed of them, essentially. And so he's sitting there in this mental block, knowing he did this to himself. All it took, the only reason he's there is because he literally did this to himself. He screwed up. So what do you do when you screw up and you've put yourself in this position? Well, instead of a physical attacking of the moment, you have to sometimes remind yourself that it's okay to screw up and to keep moving forward. And I felt like it depends on who you are and how you like these types of things. I'm far more of I'm more attached to the emotional, mental pick yourself up side, but I can understand the physical aspect and why.
I will say this: the feeling that you get when he hands over those Edith, that's right, sunglasses
Edith.
to Mysterio, and then you find out for sure later that he effed up. That you can feel that. You can feel that like, oh no.
Well,
you just kind of
and it's Tony Stark's shadow that's over him in this movie that causes a lot of this stuff, because it's that thought of he told me I'm the one who'll know, and then he finds out.
And Nick Fury keeps bringing it up throughout the movie, how like he keeps being irresponsible with the tech and everything. You know, he had these glasses, and first thing he does with them, he almost blows up a kid in a bus.
What's funny though is if you're to believe the end credits scene, that isn't even Nick Fury. So
we believe the end credits scene. It's that.
But he's still working with him, right?
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, that
we don't know how far back that goes.
We don't know.
Yeah.
I just think that there's a little more there that Happy's trying to point out similarities. Not that you are exactly like Tony Stark, because he doesn't have his arrogance, of course.
No,
he doesn't have his dry wit.
We're parents.
That's true. But it's those similarities of the flaws and what Tony would do. Tony would always figure out, I got to do this. And then they go to the scene where he goes back and he starts making his suit. Very, again, Tony-esque. It's a thing of, you can see the influence that Tony has. Tony's influence is all throughout this movie.
By the way, when he was building that suit, I thought it was going to be something crazy, and it wasn't.
It was just enough. My opinion. He knew what he had to have, and that's all he wanted.
Maybe that's a good thing though, because he was not relying on Tony as much as, he still is, but he's not. He's still using his own powers.
Yeah, he had all the suits there that Tony had put into the one. I think is pretty much what it was showing, is the different things that the one could do, and he's taking bits and pieces from each of those and combining them into what he can use. Because the one thing that's apparent of the call it the Iron Spider, call it whatever you want, the one thing that's apparent in Homecoming is he doesn't understand that suit as well as he doesn't quite get the full functionality of the suit. He uses what he can use, but there's a lot of stuff that suit can still do that he can't do or he doesn't know about. And so the fact that he goes in and he says, okay, I know what I'm doing with this. I know what I'm doing with that. I know what I'm doing. And he makes his suit that's not going to do something just crazy that he doesn't expect it to. So it was very important for that scene, because I think my son said it, because I took both my kids. I think my son said it. He's like, well, Peter Parker always made his own suit. And I says, yeah, but he does make his suit. And that's the important thing. That is him making his suit. So it's the same type of thing you see, is that he's making it to what works best for him. And that's an important scene, because that is a very strong part of Peter Parker.
You're saying. I agree with that.
Peter Parker, in all facets of Spider-Man, in the comics, in the movies, in the cartoons, makes his suit. It starts out with just a stocking cap and and sweats and stuff, but he refines it to become a part of him. Because that is something that's really interesting, is that it's a real part of him. And
I just thought we were going to get something crazy.
I think that's a possibility, but it was very important that they didn't do that, because that's not Peter Parker.
I agree both sides. Yeah. It's just you're expecting, because he's got all this tech he can work with, and then he just ends up just choosing kind of almost the bare essentials, the
things that he knows he needs. So
I want to say this real quick. I'm sorry, this is just a quick thing I wanted to bring out. The CGI whenever Peter Parker, not Spider-Man, but Peter Parker is swinging around. What was that? Italy without the suit on, you can still see his face. That looked great.
Yeah,
that's the best we've seen yet. I think. It looked like he was actually going through there. So
I
thought that was awesome. I was impressed with that.
I liked that scene.
This entire movie was fantastic.
It was.
The effects through the entire movie were fantastic.
Yeah. So let's go with the ending there.
I got about 5 minutes left.
Yeah. So Hoff, really quick, give me your ideas of the ending. We won't go end credits, just the ending.
The ending, I mean, you just mean like
How
okay,
he defeats Mysterio.
how he defeats him. Okay, it's obviously that is also, I guess, he comes through in a couple times there in the strength of or willpower and everything. You know, he has to. They got very creative with all the fighting and everything at the end. Just I was very satisfied with the ending. We know the superhero is gonna win and everything, and then he ends up with the girl, of course. And he tells you that the plot of the movie right at the beginning, his plan for the summer is to get with MJ, and he does accomplish that, so that's cool. But I think not until really the post credits, really, but it didn't cliffhang too much at the end of it, besides him just getting with MJ. So I think it wrapped up everything pretty well, but it didn't really hint at new villains or anything that I could tell.
No, I think it's I mean, go ahead, Mary. Why don't you tell me what you think about the ending?
I want to give Hoff all the time he needs. I know he's
no, that's about it. I was satisfied with the ending. I'm glad they were able to wrap it up, but then you can still see a future in it as well.
What do you think of the correlation between the first illusion scene where they're fighting and that scene, the correlation between the two? Here he's completely outmatched, and then this one he does finally kind of get his sense back.
Well, the first time he didn't necessarily know exactly what he was working with either.
That's true.
With the projectors and everything. Mm-hmm. And then they fight Mary or MJ, not Mike. My bad, excuse me, MJ. I almost said Mary Jane. She finds which this is kind of a problem I did have with the movie. She coincidentally finds this projector thing off this drone, which leads them to realize that Mysterio is not a good guy, and so I think having that knowledge really helped him too, but he still didn't know completely what he was going up against. But the first time, he was just kind of ignorant to it, not intentionally, just didn't know what was going on. No way really know that someone's going to be fooling you with projectors. So can't blame him.
Well, yeah. So, well, Hoff, you're about ready.
I feel like you have a point you wanted to make on that.
Who? Me?
You, yeah, about the correlation between those.
Just, I love the fact that you have him totally outmatched, and the ins and outs, reality, not reality, flipping around, the duality of what's going on, and he can't figure it out. And then he finally, there's this. I seem to remember he basically turns his eyes off. He closes his eyes in the suit, and that's his way of saying, I can't trust what I see, so I'm going to rely on the sense I know I have. And that was a big part of where he obviously is believing in himself again. Because this whole
crazy
thing,
how strong the Peter Tingle was whenever he didn't even know where those drones were. Exactly. He was still able to fight them.
And that's what that tingle was. And then, there's a part where Mysterio's faking like he's dead. He is shot. We know he's shot. But he's faking like he's dying right there, and then he dodges the bullet. The bullet's right there, and he dodges it, and he has the gun. And it's like, I loved that because he believes in himself again. And this whole movie is him doubting himself. He doubts himself with MJ because of the other kid that's there with MJ trying to hook up with her. He doubts himself because of
Ned?
Yeah,
so
Ned.
This all boils down to Mary's favorite
scene.
Not
Ned. No, the what?
Chad, or is it Chad or Brad?
I don't know.
I think it's Brad. Yeah. But this all boils down to Mary's favorite scene, which is, in my opinion, probably the turning point for his character when he stops doubting himself because he doesn't feel like he has to live up to Tony Stark anymore. So that's why he feels more confident.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's a very important. That's because this whole movie, like I said, he's doubting himself, and you can attest that to Happy. Happy has a very important part in this to kind of help Peter through that morning when he himself is mourning, because like he says, he was my best friend, and it's very important to think about that Happy has a very small part in this, but that part is so big, and they played that very well in this. So before we go too much further, and I'll get your your side of this, Mary. What's your
No,
thoughts?
no, no, I know Hoff has to go. I'm
Yeah,
completely.
I want Hoff to go ahead and tell everybody again where you can find or where they can find you and what you've been working on. And go ahead, please.
I would really like to get into the post-credits stuff. I'm sorry I can't stick around for that. I guess this will be the post-credits for your show here, maybe like the extra. But yeah, just go to Hoff Solo. Just search that in the YouTube thing. Please do not leave this stream. But I am doing a stream at 7. Don't leave this one. But if this one ends and you want to jump over to mine, feel free. It's on my channel. I'm doing one with Vase. We're going to have the Geek in Disguise as a guest. And Mary, always good to talk to you. Chris, thanks for having me on, man. This was a great talk. I wish I could stick around more.
I love having you on, Hoff, and we'll have to do it more often. You know, that's why on web browsers, they give you a chance to have 2 windows and you can split them up. You can watch 2 things at one time. So just don't forget about that either. You can jump over there and watch his. Hey,
thank you.
I appreciate you telling him to stay here, but you can do both.
It's called multiple tabs. You don't even need 2 browsers. You don't even need to anything. Just open a tab.
Look at the respect around here. That's why this is a great place, you know.
She just likes making me look like a fool on my channel as much as she can.
The sarcasm is so thick it just drips off of you.
What is it?
The sarcasm dripping off of you.
No, I was being truthful about that. I really that's a nice respectful gesture.
No. I know. I'm being snazzy today. I'm being snappy today. I know.
I like it though.
I'm not going to spoil anything about the post-credit stuff. I just want to say 2 words that I really enjoyed about the first one. Alex Jones. That's all I'm saying.
Oh God, you're fake news and you're fake news.
Anyways, yeah, I do have to get going. Thanks again for having me, and I'll talk to you all very soon. All right.
All right. Later.
See you.
All right. Okay. So, what do you think of the ending?
Oh, I loved it. So big spoiler alert, like as if we haven't got enough of those already, but big old spoiler alert. We all guess who's back, guys? J. Jonah Jameson is back, and he is portrayed by no one other than J.K. Simmons. Oh, I love it. So if you loved J.K. Simmons in the original Spider-Man trilogy, then you are going to love this because he's back in your fake news. And I think it's handled quite well.
I loved that. And I really hope, and I kind of wonder if they're going to bring that aspect of his character in a future movie, the photographer, and with him showing up at this point, I hope that's where they're going with this. I hope that they're going to do that. So yeah, and continue.
No, I loved it. So the in credit scenes, there were 2 of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I am so sad that Hoff had to go because I know he really wanted to talk about this, and they're quite fun. So there are 2 in credit scenes. The first one is right after it's about midway. It's the midway through the credit scene. It's the mid credit scenes, and so of course Peter gets with MJ. Oh, I refuse to call her that. It's Michelle. Okay, this is not MJ. It's Michelle. Great character, by the way. Wonderful character. I adored her. I thought they did a fantastic job with her. She's cute. She's quirky. She's weird. She has no idea what she's doing. She's a product of her times and of her time, and that's okay. So she's quite quirky, right? So Peter finally gets with her, and it's adorable, and she knows he's Spider-Man, and they go swinging through the city, and it's this grand affair, and she hates it. She hates it so much. She's like, ah! And so they land. She's like, I'm never doing that again. He's like, all right, well,
you know, I don't mean to cut you off, but I will say this about this. I liked that because in the other movies, his love interest, his girlfriend, whatever, didn't mind it so much. They hung out in the spider webs and stuff. Like she's like, nope, no more. Yeah, don't do it again.
Yeah, it's not up her alley at all, and that's okay. She likes to stay close to the ground, and that's okay. No texting while swinging, isn't that sweet?
Yeah,
I loved that text. So he lands, and the next thing you know, bam! J. Jonah Jameson in all his J.K. Simmons glory up on the big old screen, and the next thing you know, we're being told essentially fake news, right? That Spider-Man killed Mysterio, which is, while it's true, it's not really true. Spider-Man didn't kill Mysterio. Mysterio tried to kill Spider-Man, and it backfired because Spidey sense, right? Or the Peter tingle.
Mhm.
And it wound up essentially, he's misportraying what happened on the bridge between Spider-Man and Mysterio. And he's making it out to look as though Spider-Man did all of this horrible stuff and he was behind everything. And then, worst of all, he outs Spider-Man's secret identity. So what does this mean? What does this mean for the world around Spider-Man? Well, it means every person that Spider-Man has ever loved is in danger. It means Aunt May is in danger. It means Ned is in danger. It means Michelle is in danger. It means it means everyone that he loves and cares about is in danger moving forward, because we're talking about a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man here, right? We're talking about, you're going to have issues where the Kingpin comes in at some point, and I presumably will have that issue, or Oscorp will come in at some point, which I think has been hinted at, where they're going to come in and they're going to know who his friends and his family are, and those people are in danger. And so it sets things up for a future conflict, which I look forward to, because, you know, Spider-Man's identity is now out there for the entire world to know. And it wasn't done of his own accord. We're not talking about an Iron Man, Tony Stark situation where he did this to himself, right? No, this was done to him. He's just trying to save the world. Now there's fake news floating around, and poor Peter has to try to figure out how to address this. So that was sort of mid-credit stinger.
Now, with that,
very interesting.
I understand everybody he knows is in danger, but just the quick look they gave to Michelle in that, it almost makes you wonder if, since nobody was there, even his friends weren't there, do they believe that?
No, she saw the drones. They were.
Yes, she saw the drones, but the thing is that doesn't mean.
No, I didn't get that at all.
Okay, I mean, because I kind of wondered if that's going to be. I mean, because it's so short, you're kind of maybe, but I don't know. No, but yeah, I don't know how they're going to fix that unless, like I said, you start bringing in that he feels the need, he has to go fix it, so he goes straight to the Daily Bugle and tries to fix it within the ranks.
Well, there's precedent in the comics.
Well, yeah.
Work with J. Jonah Jameson. There's precedent.
Yes,
so, I mean,
yeah.
And look, the problem with all this is that J. Jonah Jameson is a good guy. He means well, right?
Yes.
And so I'm a little concerned with the whole fake news aspect moving forward, because we don't want to turn J. Jonah Jameson into a villain.
But he was always fake news.
Yes, but there's a difference between an antagonist and a villain, right?
Yeah, yes.
He's always been an antagonist to some extent, but he's never been a villain. And so my big concern moving forward is if you turn him into fake news, you kind of turn him into a villain, because there's this connotation with fake news these days. You're going to turn off a potential aspect of your audience, right? Like, let's not
No,
let's not make everybody hate other people. Let's not start another war here.
I don't want that. I do want him to be like he was in the other movies, where he spins the truth, and yet it is kind of concerning that he plays something that point blank outs Peter Parker. That is very strong to come from an antagonist. But would he have done it in the other movies if he knew who it was? I'm not sure. He might have, because that was his whole point, was to out who Spider-Man was, to out that he wasn't the good guy that everybody thought he was. He thought that he needed to out him. And of course he keeps getting saved by him here, left and right. And, but I kind of see that Peter's going to go into the aspect, and since it's on TV, maybe a photojournalist, not a photographer, something a little more new at the times, that basically he's going to go there, and the only person that's going to save this and not make this happen and change it is Jameson himself. He's going to have to say, no, I made this up. And I think that's the only way they can fix this. The only way to do that is for Peter Parker to get in close proximity with him and do something that makes him be in the same room, and then have something like, since he still has Edith, so he could do a hologram and make him realize it isn't him. I mean, there's ways to fix this fairly easy.
Well,
But
it's a lot of speculation. I'm not sure that I'm prepared to get into just because
yeah,
we don't have any real context outside of just doubted.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, you have a stream at what time again?
Well, here in about an hour or so. But I know we have another in-credit scene that we haven't touched on.
So let's do that, and then we'll wrap it up. But go ahead and explain the last one.
Explain the last one.
What?
I feel bad because I explained the last one.
Okay. Well, okay. So the final scene, we got Nick Fury driving down the road, and the next thing you know, you find out, he adjusts his patch or, fixes his patch, and then they morph, and you find out that it's a Skrull. And there are what?
Freaking Skrulls.
Yeah. And you find out that the whole time these people, and I guess there's little hints throughout the movie that they could have been Skrulls from the very beginning. They could have been. I'm not sure. That's, again, speculation that it's hinted at, but it's, there's the part where he says, well, what about Captain Marvel? And then he says, don't you dare invoke her name or whatever. And then, which I thought was kind of, it was, yeah. And then it's the characters that they're hanging out with. The almost mercenary like characters. While S.H.I.E.L.D. it has firepower and has soldiers per se, I didn't get that feeling. I felt like those were more mercenary, and so it felt really weird. And now looking back at it after this end scene, where you find out, one, that they're Skrulls, and two, he's talking on the phone with Nick Fury, who's now up in space in this giant Skrull ship. And he gets up and he says, all right, folks, back to work. And like you said, this brings up Sword.
Yes.
So again, I think that helps Phase 4 kick off.
Yeah.
I now understand why they did this as the end of Phase 3. I didn't get why they were doing it before, because I'm like, Endgame, that shit ended. And then now you're like, okay, I got it. We're going to deal with Tony's death in this movie. We're going to put a lot of things to bed and wrap it up in a ball and move forward. So they've given us 2 plot points that we can move forward with. Sword is now...
so do we want to explain Sword for the normies?
Sure. So do you want to tell them, or do you want me to tell them?
Sword is just like an acronym, just like Shield. Okay, so Sword and Shield are essentially the same thing. So while Shield is sort of Earth's protection agency, Sword is the space protection agency. So it's just an acronym for Sentient World Observation and Response Department, and it's sort of like it's like intelligence agency, just like Shield had been, right? So, it's moving forward. It kind of hints at it never directly says that this is Sword. It just hints at it. Do I like the idea that Skrulls are up in space running Sword? No, I hate it. I hate that with every fiber of my being. Skrulls are bad guys.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel. But anyway, it's just sort of this hinting that, okay, so now we're moving forward into space. Okay, moving forward for Phase 4, you can expect to see a whole lot more spacey space stuff going on, and you can expect to see, you can probably expect to see a lot more Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I think they're gonna do that to us.
I'm still down for Guardians of the Galaxy, especially if they've got Thor running around in it. So yeah, we put a lot of characters to bed. It's they're going to move forward. I'm not on the Phase 4 train. We'll see what happens, but I'm not on the Phase 4 train.
Well, I will say this. I think, again, with some of the stuff that happened at the end of Endgame, there were tiny tinges of cringe there. And I'm glad that I didn't get any of that feeling in this.
None at all. No,
I don't know how much of this was wrapped up before that movie was released. I'm pretty sure quite a bit of it, if not all of it. But I am happy that they didn't inject any of that into here. So I'm hopeful still, but I'm with you. I'm going to have to kind of watch the trailers, and that's a bad thing because, like, when you look back at this trailer, you and I were both like, "Wow, this is awesome." Now you look back at it, you're like, "Man, there's just not really much that they showed. Very little."
Mm.
I mean, really, that everything that I remember that they showed was literally from the first like 30 minutes of the movie, maybe an hour, and that's it. So, that does kind of bother me because if I have to go off of the trailer, I know that they're going to cut it so well to make me think something that it isn't, which is their job with a trailer. But I just don't want that and go see a movie and then go like, oh my God, this was horrible. Why'd they do this? So I kind of worry. I do think the Skrulls being right now essentially good guys is just ridiculous. And I wonder if they're going to change that. I hope they do. But Phase 4 obviously has a lot of places it can go. And, like with anything that you have no map on, you can shoot out wild ideas. And, it's best that we don't do that. So let's close this up and wrap up in a sum. What you think this does do for the past, 15 years now?
About 11 years.
Yeah, okay, 11 years. So
yeah.
How does this do? Because let's just go forward thinking that Phase 4 is just going to be a complete joke and none of us are going to want to go see this because we don't know, because there's a lot of signs showing that they're going to change how they do these movies.
Yeah.
But let's say that this is as far as their storyline went. That they didn't have 4 figured out. I hope they have 4 figured out like they did the other ones. But let's say this was it, and they're flying off the cuff now. What does this movie do to bookend what we know as the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I loved this movie in terms of as a bookend. Would I have wanted this to have been the last Marvel movie? No. Because I love Marvel and it left things open. Of course, mostly the in credits scenes left things open. But if we're setting those aside, and in terms of, I wouldn't have wanted it to have been the end, just because I don't feel like Spider-Man should be where it ends. But in terms of how it wrapped things up to move forward, I felt like it was great. I felt like this was a great movie. It touched on everything that it needed to touch on. It made sense. It was well explained. I thought Mysterio was wonderful. I really actually almost wish they hadn't killed him.
I did. I'm with you on that.
I really almost wish they hadn't killed him just because I feel like he would have been a great villain again, right? Like Loki levels of awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I wish almost that we could still have had him moving forward. But if I could only have this villain for one movie, at least I got him for that because it's fantastic. They did a wonderful job. They addressed the blip or the snap, as we call it, and they explained their reasonings for why it's like. Let's think about this for 2 seconds. If you were just some random kid in the band of your high school and you got out of existence and you don't know why and you have no context for it, and then suddenly you're back, you're gonna call it a blip too because you don't have any context for the snap, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like that they called it a blip.
They did they gave it a name. That was a good thing. Now it's not just look what happened. We've got a name.
Yeah, so it's really, I think it bookended well. I think the only thing I might have changed was how Aunt May interacted with Happy towards the end. I actually quite liked them together. I thought they would have done well together. I liked them. I thought that was cute.
I don't know that they're not going to end up together.
We'll see. I don't know. She sort of snapped him away a little quicker than I would have. Like, it was just a fling. Oh, it was just a fling. Well, we'll see. I don't know. I liked them together. I like Aunt May. I like this movie. I love this movie, actually, I would say. And I think it was a great, fun time, done well, acted well. I love Spider-Man, and I love Michelle, and I love them together, and I love this movie.
You mean MJ? Oh, sorry.
No, it's not MJ. Oh, I wish they'd quit calling her that. She's Michelle. Let her be Michelle.
Well, maybe I really think the next movie is they're gonna have to grow up a little bit. So perhaps they'll let her character say, you know what, MJ sounds young, too young for me. I'm more of an adult. I'm gonna go by Michelle for now. They could do that really easy. I mean, it's not like they can't do that. We know Marvel isn't going to stop making movies at this point, so of course it has a way to move forward. But as a bookend, they wrapped up the Tony story, which is really
the most important.
It is, and it's not just the fact that this has a lot to do with Tony Stark. Spider-Man, this version of Spider-Man has a lot to do with Tony Stark. It's the fact that the Marvel Cinematic Universe started with Iron Man, and you wrap up those things about Iron Man in this movie. And that's very important. That is a bookend. They did bookend this very well. But of course they're going to move forward. Disney's not stupid. Now we had the discussion because I've always confused. They're still renting Spider-Man from Sony. And like you said, Sony's just not going to give up Spider-Man. I don't buy that. I think at some point Disney will find something or some way of doing it. But, I only go off the idea that Sony had the Beatles catalog and then lost it back to Paul McCartney because, well, you can only have so much money for so long. But it does always worry me when a character is rented because the storyline they have for Spider-Man right now is a good storyline. Mm-hmm. But if Marvel Studios isn't involved in that, then they're going to go and do their own thing with it. I'm afraid. And so
Sony can be trusted with Spider-Man.
Well, I'm not saying they can't be trusted, but then are they going to take it and basically, can they take it and tell Marvel, nope, we're done with you and Disney. We're going to go do our own thing. Are they theoretically allowed to go and continue this storyline?
It's a wait and see sort of thing.
See, that'd be my only worry with a character like this. But then again, do we want Disney to have the intellectual properties of all these comic book heroes that we love and have the chance to ruin them, which, like we talk about so often, Star Wars and stuff, but we won't go there. So long and short, though, you had it at an 8 out of 10. We'll go with your scale. And I had it about an 8.5 out of 10. Hoff had it at an 8 out of 10. Any final thoughts you'd like to add to this, Mary?
No, I feel like hey, this is probably the last really great Marvel movie we're gonna get for a while. Seeing as they're trying to shift focus and move things over to more female-centric, woke agenda. This movie wasn't woke. And if I felt like it were an indication of things to come, I would still be 100% on board. But they've just said too much moving for a lot of the other stuff. So will I go see Spider-Man 3 when it comes out? Yeah, absolutely. I will go see Spider-Man 3. This was a wonderful movie. It paid homage to Tony Stark. It allowed you to breathe and accept his fate.
Yeah.
I felt like was important. And it set Peter up to be something of a leader here on Earth, at least. So I hope that they move forward with that to some extent because they literally handed him Tony's entire intelligence tech stuff on a silver platter. I hope that Peter moving forward has a bigger hand in sort of the direction of things because this is a great Spider-Man.
Yeah. I do. Yeah. I hate to say that, but you're absolutely right that going forward, the things we're hearing, the things we were shown in Endgame, it does look like it's going to go to a woke Marvel, which is horrible because they've done such a great job of staying away from all of that stuff. And, again, I think you and I are both the same. It's just going to have to be look at it, read a little bit about the next movies, and kind of decide from there. But I think it was absolutely what you said, a breath and you could accept it in this. Like the way Endgame kills Tony Stark, it's just like, no, he's gonna wake back up. He's gonna wake back up, and then they go to the funeral, and it's like you don't have any time to accept it. Really, it's just it happens. Here it is. That's how it is. And this movie really explores it from Peter Parker's side, and you do ride that ride with Peter Parker of mourning and dealing with the loss of Tony Stark with him. So I totally agree with that. Yeah, I think it's the best Spider-Man movie yet. Tied with the first Sam Raimi, maybe. Like I said, this has a much better storyline, and maybe it's because it had the trip and all sorts of things, and probably because it has Marvel in it, not Marvel, but Shield in it. That helps everything. And it involves Tony Stark, Iron Man. It just works with the whole story we've had from the past, and that helps this so much. So this movie probably is absolutely the best Spider-Man movie so far, and it makes me hope for the third one and hope that Marvel gets to still do this. With that said, I think we all liked this. It definitely wasn't a letdown from Endgame, and like I said, it's a lot stronger than what I expected for this type of standalone movie. Maybe because it does jump back and forth to Age of Ultron and Iron Man, and there's a lot of correlations going on. Maybe that helps it, but whatever. Mary, you have to go and get prepared for your stream. Why don't you tell people, one, where they can find you, two, tell them a little bit about what's going on tonight, and then tell them what's coming up for you.
Well, sure. So if you'd like, I'll go ahead and I'll just link everybody straight to the stream. It's starting in about an hour and 20 minutes. So I'll just go ahead and throw a link for that right up in the chat. We are not discussing Spider-Man because I know there are a lot of people who haven't actually seen Spider-Man yet. So we're going to be talking about a few other things. We're going to be talking about Knives Out by Rian Johnson, the trailer that dropped, as well as some Charlie Angels newsy news and some Daisy Ridley newsy news, and just having a little conversation as we do during the week. So yeah, feel free to come over and catch that. It'll be here in about an hour and 20 minutes. And yeah, I'll see you guys over there.
Well, I just want to say thank you for coming on today. And I always enjoy these conversations, and it's kind of nice that this was on mine. Like we did an Endgame on your channel long ago when you were only at 500 subs. But hey, guys, I would just do a little pitch here for myself. So we are at 218 subs, somewhere right around there. I guess I can go down here and read. I can't find it because anyways, I think we're 218, but we have hit the 4,000 watch hours that YouTube requires for monetization. Now, monetization isn't necessarily the be all end all. It's not the only thing I care about. I do care about the subs, and I do care about the content.
Well, but they're going to change the rules here.
That's what I'm trying to say here, is the rules are looming to be changed. They're going, just a matter of when, and the bad thing is they could do it tomorrow. We're 218 subs. We would love for you guys to tell people about us here at The Real Review 3000 and help us get to that 1,000 sub mark before they change it. It may be something we can't do, but I sure as heck would like to try. So everybody that's watched today, tell people about us. Please, if you like our content, like this video, hit the bell, find out what we're coming up with next. You can catch me on Merry Mayhem streams every once in a while. Definitely, you can catch me on Merry Hoki every other Saturday. Mm-hmm. And, I'm going to be on Black Angus's channel coming up next Wednesday, I believe. I head over to Sean Stackhouse's channel. He's on this channel. Of course, he's the other half of the Real Review 3000. I try to involve the community because I think that's what makes us strong. And I love this community, and I love all those of you who have subs so far. So Please help us do that. And thank you for subbing, and thank you for supporting this channel. Thank you for supporting Merry Mayhem's channel and Hoff Solo's channel. Go check them out. They're both streaming right about, well, Hoff's streaming right now. Mary will be streaming soon. So go jump over there. We're going to end it right now. Mary, say bye to all the lovely folks out there.
Well, thanks for having me on, Chris, so much. And I'll see you guys hopefully later here in just a little bit. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.